last game for college football coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The one I've been waiting for this whole time, but possibly. I don't know. I'm nervous, guys. This is a huge game. I have every right to be nervous. But my Texas A&M Aggies go to South Bend to play Notre Dame. The second part of a home-and-home. They beat us last year in Kyle Field. It wasn't very pretty. We couldn't move the ball at all.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is currently favored by 6.5. I believe it was 9.5 in some places to open, so it's closed a little bit, but nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Notre Dame 6.5. I'm gonna let y'all give y'all's thoughts first, and then I'll speak on it.
You are correct. The spread opened at 9.5, and it's been described from bettors at least. It's been bet down to 6.5. Not that anything has changed.
Sure.
Any news has came out. People just think that was too many points for A&M, and I agree. I would have taken A&M 9.5 every single day of the week. I think 6.5 is a much better line than that. One of the things I also noticed in talking in the lead up to this game is that Notre Dame has hinted at throwing the ball down the field more this week. Marcus Freeman admitted in an interview that they were protecting C.J. Carr in week 1, and so maybe look for Notre Dame to open up the offense, which they would need to. If they're not able to run the ball, like they were not able to run the ball against Miami, this is going to be a tough game, especially against Texas A&M defensive linemen. Cassius Howell had 3 sacks on 3 straight plays last week, so maybe he's not guaranteed to be a star yet. But you don't get 3 sacks on 3 straight plays without being good. And that is, for Notre Dame, offensive line was a struggle against Miami. Now, is that Miami's defensive line is excellent. You know, Reuben Bain is a top 10 pick. He's being mocked even at number 1 overall in some mocks right now. Or is that Notre Dame's offensive line is not as good as we thought it was going to be? Remember, Notre Dame felt like last year offensive line was a huge question, but then they were excellent the entire year, and they bring almost everyone back. And now the offensive line didn't play well through the first game, and they'll get another huge test immediately against Texas A&M at home this weekend. For me, keys to the game, I think you got to make the O-line win in the run game. I think that's a huge part of it. Marshall Reed, I think, just has to play well. And I think Texas A&M has to hit shots down the field. I think they have to hit Mario Craver. I think they have to hit KC. If that can happen, if the downfield passing attack is there, like it was for Miami against Notre Dame to a degree, then I think we're in a good chance for the Aggies to pull this off. If this is a slugfest, if this is a grounded pound, weirdly enough, I feel way more confident in Notre Dame. I think A&M wins in a shootout, but would lose in any kind of slugfest, which is weird to say. I think A&M, any other team, would feel better in a slow grounded pound game than they would in a shootout. But I think this is one of those games where it just feels different. I'm interested to see how C.J. Carr plays in his second game. Remember, that was his first start ever. It's at Miami. Miami, as far as we know right now, is a top 10 team in the country, potentially top 5. How will he play against an SEC defense? Are they actually going to open him up? I'm really excited to see if that's the case, because if that's the case, Notre Dame's got a good chance to cover this spread with ease. If they're able to hit shots down the field themselves, I think they're just in a great spot. I am leaning Notre Dame right now, but I'm going to be cheering for the Aggies this weekend.
I appreciate it. Sanders?
Yeah, it really does come down to, like, what version of Notre Dame do we get, because the run game last week was not great. Jeremiah Love returned and was considered probably the best running back in college football.
Up there.
He's up there with a couple of the Penn State guys.
Jaden Ott.
Jonah Coleman.
But he's definitely up there as far as returners go. Goes off 10 carries, 33 yards last week, or 2 weeks ago, last game. Not a fantastic performance. And so is that what the Notre Dame offense looks like against anyone, or was it just the Miami game? And then I'm also excited to see C.J. Carr. I would love to see him get more production. I have him in fantasy. I think he's a redshirt freshman, so he could be long-term future for me. So would love to see him perform super well. Yeah, those are – no, I don't know if Fluff Bothwell is the best running back, Sven. He is good, but I don't know if he's that good. And then on the
Next
offense,
year.
for A&M's offense, the wide receivers. I mean, I think that's why you feel good about A&M in a shootout now is they have wide receivers they haven't had. They haven't had this depth or talent in 10 years. They had Christian Kirk, but like when they had him, it was kind of just him.
Respect Damian Ratley and Josh Reynolds, but
I didn't realize Josh Reynolds was an A&M guy. Cool.
Yeah.
But
You're
Mario Craver, Casey Concepcion, sorry,
no, you're good.
and then Ashton Bethel Roman. I feel like that's the best 3 wide receiver depth the Aggies have had in a long time.
It's since you had Mike Evans and Ryan Swope on the same team, honestly, and that's high praise, but I'm not saying they're on that level. It's just the fact that it's been pretty bare since then.
Right.
They've not had a big test in an A&M uniform yet. I will say to the person on Twitter that was calling them journeymen, that's just factually incorrect. And your Twitter handle was college football ball knower, so you may want to change that one.
Yeah, are they both in their second team?
Yes.
Yeah. And Bethel Roman is on his first team?
Yeah, he's a redshirt freshman. But he wasn't talking about Bethel Roman. Anyway, it's a good point. Mario Craver is currently the highest graded wide receiver in the SEC. He's been fantastic. Conceptions look fantastic. Now can they do it against a great secondary? The Athletics, Pete Sampson, a Notre Dame guy, says this is the best cornerback duo A&M will face all year, despite the SEC teams they'll play and Christian Gray and Leonard Moore being Notre Dame's cornerbacks. They didn't look fantastic against Miami, which Miami has great weapons as well. I'm not trying to dog on them, but it's just interesting. So we'll see. Do you have anything else you want to add before I go into my little spill?
Take it away.
Cool. I'm so interested by Marcus Freeman's comment about C.J. Carr pushing the ball downfield more because I understand not necessarily doing it week 1. It's his first start, but it's not like he was throwing into a elite secondary, right? Miami's known for having a weaker secondary, and they talked about how it was going to be improved coming into this year, and it did look better. But it's not like you are going up against your own secondary or a Georgia secondary or something like that. And so I'm wondering if they see something in A&M secondary after playing them last year. The corners are still back. Like, do they think that's a point they can win at? It was a huge point of emphasis for us in the offseason was fixing the secondary because it was piss poor last year, to say the least. Des Ricks has looked really good. He was a redshirt freshman last year. Mike Elko says he just wasn't ready to play the volume of snaps he did last year. He currently has not allowed a catch in 56 coverage snaps. Will Lee is a top 200 guy according to PFF. Tyreek Chappelle is back from injury. He got hurt in the Notre Dame game last year and missed all season. So I'm really, really intrigued to see that matchup, to see what it looks like when C.J. Carr does try and push the ball down the field. Can they win there, right? I believe it was Jaden Greathouse in an interview even was talking about A&M secondary because he's played them before. It was, what exactly did he say? Something like, oh, they're a little bit handsy, but it's nothing we can't handle. We're all good there. Like, we're going to have it. So to me, it seems like they have ultimate confidence in their passing game to be able to be really productive this week against A&M. So that's a big matchup I'm looking for, which is not what I would have thought coming into the week because I would have thought it had been all about the trenches, A&M's great offensive line, Notre Dame's great offensive line, 2 good defensive lines. Can they slow the run game? But I agree. I think it's really about the passing game is who can hit the big plays. We've seen A&M do it the first 2 weeks against weaker opponents. Can they do it this week? Can Marcel Reed deal? C.J. Carr's young. Can he deal? Sven says it's, key can A&M dominate the line. I'm going to refrain from talking about that because last year that was the conversation. It was a young Notre Dame offensive line, like you said, and we got shut down. So I'm not going to try and call any shots this year with PTSD and say that we were going to dominate or at least play well against the Notre Dame offensive line that did look bad week 1, but it's 1 week, right? So I think it's going down to the passing game.
Yeah, and in the passing game, if you're looking for guys, Mario and Casey have to beat Ashton Bethel Roman. You have to beat Jalen Stroman, who he's one of the he leads the team in tackles.
Yep.
He led the team in tackles week 1 against Miami. And then Christian Gray, who's a top 200 guy to PFF. He had 2 pass deflections against Miami. And then Leonard Moore, who's going to be a first-round pick next year in the following year's draft. He's just a sophomore right now. Only 3 tackles in week 1, but a lot of the time you don't want your corners to have a lot of tackles because that means a lot of balls are being caught in front of them.
Correct.
And so I think he's one of the best corners in the country, definitely one of the best sophomore corners up there with like Boo Carter at Tennessee. And it'll be really interesting to see how Mario and Casey go up against that secondary. I think that's really the key to the game. On the other side, if C.J. Carr's going to throw the ball down the field, he's got the weapons to do it. There's no excuse. Jordan Faison is solid. Jaden Greathouse is one of the best receivers in the country, and then Malachi Fields is good. And he was good against Miami as well. I think that is really the key to the game, both sides. I think it's crazy how it's really flipped.
Correct.
From last year. What was offensive line, defensive line, trenches, trenches, trenches. I think it's really the passing game this year that's going to tell the story on both sides.
Yeah, and now we'll go into the game Saturday, and one of these teams will run for 200-plus yards,
Yeah.
and it won't matter.
And it's going to be Notre Dame. If somebody does that, it's going to be Notre Dame.
I don't
think.
know.
That's disrespectful to the A&M's offensive line.
Apologies.
Disrespectful to Central Michigan legend Le'Veon Moss.
Facts.
True.
I think the odds are it's Notre Dame, but A&M would have a fair shot of doing that as well. Man, it's such a good chess match in that secondary. It's really made a ton of fun. Last thing I want to say, too, is talking about explosive plays. Neither Casey Concepcion or Mario Craver are the biggest guys. They're more get them the ball in space and make them miss. And I know it's weaker opponents, but they had success in the screen game, taking a slant, making a guy miss.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly it's a 40-yard gain. So Notre Dame's going to be very disciplined in their tackling and getting off blocks in the screen game and just getting guys down when they have the chance. And same for A&M as well with the guys you mentioned in Notre Dame's wide receiver room. Tackling is going to be crucial. And I'm going to be honest, A&M's safeties have not been the best tacklers so far this season, so I'm worried about that. The spreads, Notre Dame favored by 6.5. JP, what's your pick?
I would
Actually, I already know your pick, but
I would not bet on this game at all.
sure.
I would have bet when it was open at 9.5. I would have taken A&M 9.5 all day. But if you're forcing me to pick, like I said, I think the favorites win and cover in all of these games this week, and I'll take Notre Dame to win by 7.
Yeah.
In a slower game, 24-17.
I like it. Sanders?
I think I'm also going to have to go with Notre Dame here. I do think C.J. Carr will play better at home, not on the road, not with the opposing crowd, making life difficult for him. So I'm going to go. He has not a bounce back game, but an improved game, and then Jeremiah Love has a bounce back game.
Sure.
From him and from that O-line at home.
I'm going to take my Aggies. Anytime there's a reasonable chance I can, I'm going to take my Aggies. I'm going to buy in to what we've heard in the offseason and buy into the passing game I've seen in the first couple weeks and hope they can hit a couple big ones down the field. Casey Concepcion, I believe, has 4 touchdowns on the season. He gets another one. Mario Craver makes a big play. Marcel Reed's mechanical adjustments. He continues throwing at a good rate. And then the defense does enough to slow Notre Dame, and we get into it's not going to be like a high-scoring game, but, mid to high 20s, and A&M pulls it out. So I'm going to take A&M to cover. I'm nervous, but what can you do? If I wasn't nervous, would I even be a fan?